Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm going to show you Dino Dynasty. This is a 1 to 6 player game published by Ion Games. When we go down the table, I'm going to give you a real quick view on how to play the game, how to get at the table real quick, and how to get playing this game. So, as a note, there's going to be other modes that you can play for the game. You can play it solo. There's with the Dynasty mode there. There's also going to be teams play and a campaign where you could play over 5 consecutive games and you could save in between. So those are all also available. But in the core, you need to know the competitive game. So this will teach you all that you need to know to play all those different modes and play this game. So this is designed to get you to the table real quickly. So this is going to be a brief how to play of the game, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thought. Alright, so this is Dino Dynasty. In the game of Dino Dynasty, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be competing with other players to win these challenge cards here. And the player who wins the most challenge cards wins the game. Setup for this game is actually relatively easy. What you're going to be doing first is you're going to have every player go through and pick up a dynasty that they would like. And there are a ton to pick from in this game. Like a ton. So there's a lot of replayability just in which one of these dinosaurs you pick. And each of them have different evolutions to start with. Their boards are slightly different, as you can see, for all these different things like herd size, compete, their favorite biomes, going to be how many dinosaurs they can hatch, and all sorts of fun stuff on here that you can use. So and each one of these has different amounts that this is going to be the max amount of this dinosaur that you can have, and this is going to be how many put on the starting tile. So there's a lot of different things to pick from. Most of these are double-sided, so there's even more. So there's a ton of these available. But you're going to pick those up. And then once you pick up which one you want, you're going to get these little tokens here. And these little tokens you're going to place on the board where it's circled. Once you do that, what you're going to do is you're going to set your frames here, these little tiny frames, to intersect between the two. So this will be here because these two are here. This is here because these are set here. And these will move around as time goes by. That is how you're going to be able to change up your dinosaur and stuff. And then you also have some starting ability, like this is strong swimmer and sharp teeth. And in the back of the instruction manual here, which I sort of wish, I think it's here, let's find it here. It tells you what each one of these do. So like beak has +1 max herd size, and we have, let's see, wings, +1 free step over water. You have all sorts of different abilities that you can get through the game. So after you pick your dinosaur, then you're going to get your starting number, or your number of dinosaurs for that one, in case 9. You're going to get 1 egg. And you'll have 3 dinosaurs to put out in the starting tile, but we haven't got there yet. Each player can get one of these cards here that's going to teach you the structure of your turn. So this is the main thing you got to remember, that you're going to do 4 different steps on your action phase. But we'll get there in a second. So you also will get this reference guide, which teaches you all the general biomes in the game. So there's forest, rainforest, swamp, shrubland, badlands, and water. And then you have some event tiles here. These are expansion event tiles. There's going to be a little grouping of those, 6 different ones. And you're going to actually set these aside. And they have desert, floodplains, and tundra. These are all the expanding tiles. You're going to need to set out the biome die. And you're going to have these 4 dice that you're going to put out to roll for people later on. In addition to that, you're going to go through and you're going to pick a a starting setup. Now, there's a ton of starting setups that you can go through here. There is a giant stack. So there is a lot that you can pick from. So there is, again, a ton of replayability just in these. And you're going to pick these based on your player size for the game itself. So they have, I believe it's going to be A through E, and the A through C are for one player, and C through E is going to be for 4 to 6 players. Once you pick your tile here, they're going to have multiple different things on it. This one's going to have oceans, so you're going to make sure that these ocean tiles, they're only ever going to get placed at the beginning of the game here. But you could also have expanding event tiles, which you'll randomly place one of those out, and these territory tiles. And you can see there's a ton of different placements you have. But you'll set up your frame, which is these guys right here, to equal the size of this. Then you're going to put out your ocean and expanding event tiles, whatever's required for that setup. And then you're going to take your event tiles, which your event tiles are going to be these guys right here, and your normal terrain tiles. You're going to shuffle all those up, and you're going to put those into 4 large stacks. Then from the bottom of the stack, you're going to place out a territory in each of these locations. You don't have to follow placement rules when you place them out. For the start of the game, you're just going to place them out. Then we're going to put out 5 of these tiles here, and these are going to be your challenges that you're going to be trying to meet in the game. And these are the 5 that you could get to win the game. And then you have a tiebreaker challenge here. This is going to be used if any of these are tied for any reason. That's going to be what is going to be used to break the tie. Now, when you're resolving challenges, if someone ties on a challenge and ties on the tiebreaker, no one gets anything. So that's something to keep in mind. After all these territory tiles are set out, in turn order, which you'll have the first player as the person who has last seen a dino movie or whatever you want to do, they're going to place out their starting herds. And the starting herd's going to be set by on your player board there. In this case, it says 3 right in the bottom left-hand corner, so I'll place out 3. After that, you're going to take all the morph tiles, which are these guys right here, and you're going to go ahead and place these in the bag here and give it a good shake. Then you can put all the other tokens out for people to reach. A lot of these tokens won't be used unless there is a challenge card that specifically states it, like you need to pay attention to how many times you migrate into and create a rival biome, or how many times you stomp an egg, or something like that. Now these spread tokens here that you're, sorry, these aren't the spread tokens. These spread tiles here, you're going to set them aside and for the game there, because they can come out for different reasons. But now the game is set up and you're ready to play. So starting with the start player and going clockwise, each player is going to take turns until the map fills. Once the map fills, everyone gets one last turn and then the game ends. Now you do 4 different things on your turn, which is also shown on your little player aid that you got here. The first thing is you're going to hatch a nest. So if you have an egg out, you're going to take a look and see what the number is on there, and that's how many dinos that you're going to replace the egg with at the beginning of your turn. So that's simply what hatch is, and you're going to do that as the first step of your turn. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take one of the 4 actions and then potentially pick up a morph. So the 4 actions you can take are going to be compete, spread, migrate, and evolve. So let's say you want to take the spread action. And the way the spread action works is you can move up to your herd size here to the next biome. Now, biomes aren't separated by tiles, they're separated by biomes. So this is one biome, this is another biome. We can add on to that. Let's say we're going to cheat a little bit here, and let's say I have this card right here. So what I could do is one of these has to be a matching biome. So we'll go like that. So I can place a tile on my turn and then move. So I could move here because that is a separate biome. And again, I can move up to my herd size, which is set here. And this can move or vary based on different events that can happen in the game itself. So the other thing that I can do on my turn, other than just those, is I can place out an event tile. And there's going to be several different event tiles that can come out. We have volcanoes. We have, so here's, let's see if we have, yeah, we have all three types on here. So we have a meteorite, we have a volcano, and we have a mountain. These cause significant events when they come out. So what I need to first do is roll the biome die. And I roll the biome die, and I can place it in that biome. Now, if that biome doesn't exist, I can't place out the event. But if it does, then I get to place out the event. So on this board here, it helps you figure out what each of these are. So let's say I rolled a tree. If I rolled a tree here, I could put it in a forest, which is this one here. So I could put the mountain in there. Now, what that'll do is any dinosaurs that are on here will get put onto the event, and then the event will occur. So what will happen is for a mountain is any of, and you can see this on here for the mountain, any of the 9 spaces that are around the mountain, those dinos try to escape once when into their biome to a different tile. So this guy tries to escape, they'll go here. So that'll happen for all 3 of these different events. So the meteorite, the mountain, and the volcano, you have a chance to have all the dinosaurs escape, and then bad things happen. So in this case, you're going to remove all nests and half dinos rounded up in the biome that does not stretch outside the 9 square tile area. And then you're going to flip any diagonal tiles to the one that plays. So this one will actually end up getting flipped. Basically like recreating the land. Volcanoes are going to be around the same idea, except for instead of diagonally, they're going to be horizontally and vertically. You're still going to try to escape. And then for a volcano, you're going to have the dinosaurs round up again. For meteorite, which are super devastating, that's going to be every tile around it. And then you're going to destroy all dinosaurs that couldn't escape. So as you notice, you have a couple different things here. We rolled the biome die. Then you're going to place out the tile. Then we're going to go ahead and place out 2 morph tokens. And those morph tokens will come from the morph bag here. And these morph tokens, you will, well, I got 2 of the same ones, but normally get different ones out. If your dinosaur has any of the matching attributes to it, they can actually gain this morph if they're on the space with it at the end of the turn. And they have different abilities. Like here, it has camouflage, hide from attack, and a home biome. Now your home biome is going to be determined by this little map right here. All right, a couple more things for migration. Now, when you migrate into, so let's say we have these dinosaurs here. When I migrate into here, we just create a rival biome. We're both coexisting, except for attrition will happen at the end of my turn, which we'll get into it a little bit. But we're coexisting. The other thing that can happen is if my rival has an egg there and I move in with the egg, it becomes stomped. If I had and that gets it removed and back to that player. If there was a goal out here or a challenge card that required for stomping, you get a stomping token. So those tokens over there that you set out are generally used for only if the challenge card needs them, like if it's paying attention to how many herds you move into to create rival biomes and such like that, you would actually use those tokens. The other action you can take is spread. And you're going to look at your board here, and this is going to determine what happens when you do spread. So you could have a couple things happen here. For here, I could pick to add a dinosaur or egg. However, if I'm in my home biome, so in this case, it's going to be either one of those 2. And you can look at your little chart here to see what those are. That's going to be the shrubland or a forest to start. So let's say I'm here, then I can do both. So I can get an egg out, and I can get another dinosaur. And that's simply what spread is. So you're going to take a look at what's there, and you're going to be able to do both if you're in your home biome. The other thing you can do is the compete action, which is pretty fun here. So for the compete action, what you're going to do is you're going to move into another location. Now again, with movement and with this, you have to look at your herd size. So whenever you move, so when you do whenever you do the migrate action or you do the compete action, you have to pay attention to that, and you can only move that number of dinosaurs in. You could split up your herds, creating new herds there, but you have to do at least that number, so I have to move at least 3 in, and so on. Now, when we do a compete action, it's actually pretty simple for how the combat works on here. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take our herd size. So my herd size is going to be 3, and let's say theirs is 3. Then we're going to take the compete size. In this case, mine is our compete number, which is mine, is going to be 5. So we'll add those two together, and then if we have any morph tokens that help us out, we'll add those. And then we're both going to roll 2 dice and add that value, so in this case 3, to that number. Then whoever has the highest won, and whoever has the lowest number loses, and then that person who loses removes the difference between those 2 numbers, which could be all their dinosaurs. The last thing we could do, or last type of action we could pick, is going to be evolve. And basically what evolve is going to do is you're just going to take one of these markers and you're going to move it. So let's say I want to be more powerful, so I'm going to move up here. I'm going to take a look and I'm going to readjust my frame. So that's basically how that works. And let's say I move this one here in a later action, this would move and this would move. So you had to, for this action, this would have moved and this would have moved up to here. So you're going to use the evolve action to move one of your markers once and change around your abilities here for the other stuff. And that's the 4 different actions you can take. So you can, again, compete, spread, migrate, or evolve, and that's actually explained on your board here. And that's what each of those do. So after you take your action, the next thing is collect a morph token. If you're in a biome with a morph token, so let's say I have some dinos here, if I'm in a biome with a morph token, I could pick up a morph token as long as I have one of the attributes that are listed right here, so this works. And I could place it and permanently get that ability. Now, I could also place it over top of one of my starting ones, or I can replace the tile that's in there. Some of the challenge cards pay attention to how many times that you've taken morph tokens. So if you do replace a morph token, you just keep it in your play area as a reminder. And the last thing is attrition. So if I'm in a area here as a rival biome, I have to lose the dinosaur at the end of my turn. And that's it for your turn, and it'll go off to the next player. And this is going to continue on until this board completely fills with tiles. At that point, the game will end. You'll have one more turn. And then after that, you're going to go through each of these challenge cards and see who has met that challenge the most. And then they will gain those challenge cards. The person with the most challenge cards wins. If players are tied for the number of challenge cards, you're going to use the tiebreaker. And then that's going to decide who won. If those 2 players or multiple players still tie for the tiebreaker, people share the victory. Now, as a note, if let's say you got Thrill Seeker, have the most dinos in event biomes. If you have this at the end of the game and another person has the same amount, and you both have the same amount for the tiebreaker, neither person gets the challenge card. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, a couple of the expanding event tiles I want to go over real quick, and that's going to be it. So as a note, these can show up in the game here. And you have these 3 different main types of expanding events. You have a tundra, a desert, and a floodplain. Now for the desert, which is going to be super nasty, Herds are reduced to half of their species starting herd size, rounded up, at the end of the active player turn, as a special type of attrition. So you're going to lose a lot more with these deserts. We also have floodplains. For each herd a player has in a floodplain biome, they may move any one evolve marker one extra step during their evolve actions. And then finally we have the tundra. So herds on a tundra lose one dino at the end of the active player's turn as extra attrition. Rivals in a tundra lose 2 dinos at the end of their turn. So you can lose a lot of dinos really fast with tundras. And that's it. That's going to be how you play Dino Dynasty. Now, just to recap, your turns are going to be pretty simple. We're going to start with hatching a nest. You're going to look to see how many dinosaurs you get when you hatch the nest. Then you're going to simply take one of 4 different actions, which is going to be compete, spread, migrate, and evolve. Compete is going to be what you're going to do to try to knock down the numbers of a rival herd. You could already be in the location of the rival herd and then just do compete, or you can move into a location with a rival herd to initiate that. Spread is going to be what you do to increase your herd size and get some eggs out on the board potentially. And evolve is what you're going to do to change up your board so that you have different numbers there for the different actions you want to take. And migrate is what you're going to use to build the map here and move your dinosaurs around the board and hopefully create multiple different herds. Then you're going to see if you can pick up a morph token because you're in an area with a morph token. And then finally, you're going to do attrition. And then we're going to continue on doing that until this board fills. Once the board fills, the game will be triggered. Everyone gets one last turn. And then everyone will see which challenge cards they have fulfilled and the best and get those challenge cards. So the person with the most challenge cards wins. Let's go ahead back up to the table here and I'll give you my final thoughts on Dino Dynasty. All right, so that was Dino Dynasty. Dino Dynasty, component quality is going to be amazing for this game. It's going to be the same component quality that you would expect for most other Ion games. They really do a really great job with component quality. Love the little wooden dinosaurs, love the little eggs, and all that fun stuff. Now, there's a lot of changes, it seems, between the Kickstarter version and this. During the Kickstarter, there seemed to be a lot more rules in the game. They seem to streamlined it a lot before the final release, which I really appreciate. I think they did a very good job on that. This game is a very approachable game, very easy to learn, as you saw from the playthrough. That's pretty much all you need to know, and any of the nuancy things that you run into, the rulebook really lays out very well. So there's not a lot of guessing. The only thing that I found was a little clunky with it was the morph tokens. You have to flip them over to remember the abilities, and it's just sort of something that at least for myself, that I would constantly forget what all abilities I had. Probably doesn't exist as a problem for most people, but I sort of wish there was a different way, like to track that. Like they could have given you another player aid that spelled those out, because there's a decent amount of different abilities you can have, but not like a super huge amount. So they could have gave you another player aid probably for that, to help you out remember those or something else. Either way, that's a very small nitpick. The overall game is really fun. It's also really cool because of that dinosaur art and the IP, and draws you right in, but yet it doesn't overstay its welcome. So you're going to play through this game, you're going to enjoy the game, and then you're going to be ready for another game. Even the campaign, where you're going to play over 5 different games, sounds very daunting, but it actually isn't. It's a lot of fun. And that's a big thing to say, because a lot of times campaigns are giant investments. Now, you're not going to generally be sitting down and finishing an entire campaign. You could. It could take probably as short as like 3 hours, but it could take as long as 6. So, you might not do that, but the nice thing is here you don't have to do that because it has these envelopes in here where you can save the progress of your dynasty through each of the games. So really good thought process on that, and way of making it so you don't have to make that investment in all one shot. The gameplay is pretty fun. There's a lot of strategy to this game. Doing which action you pick during a turn can sometimes be a reaction to what other players do. You're always paying attention to board state, and you always want to decide whether you want to push the board towards completion faster or slow it down a little bit because you're still trying to build up to meet those challenge cards. This game can be a lot of fun, and I find that sometimes you just forget about those challenge cards, which is the danger. So the challenge cards are the game, so you want to make sure that you pay attention to it, and the more challenges cards, the more difficult the game gets, but this one sets you at 5. However, for some of these other modes, you can have more or less than that. So a lot of thought in this game, a lot of strategy in this game, a lot of different actions and a lot of different ways to meet those challenge cards, which is really important, and a lot of replayability because you can play all sorts of different dinosaurs each time. You can get all different challenge cards out. Your terrain can be completely different. You can pick tons of different maps. There's a ton of replayability in this game. And if you like the dinosaur theme, this one's a home run. So I highly recommend it. But that's my thoughts on Dino Dynasty. If you like what we do, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. Helps us get more content out to you, all that fun stuff. Either way, I hope you all have a great day. And thank you for watching.